Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining. My name is Tracy Cook, and I'm the online media manager for ModernAnalyst.com, the premier community for business analysts. I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar entitled From Insights to Business Impact, Harnessing the Power of No-Code Development. Today's webinar will last approximately 60 minutes, including the question and answer session at the end. Please be sure to submit your questions in advance using the questions feature of the GoToWhere software. Today's featured speakers are Asif Sharif, founder, and Mao VP product at Codeless One. Our first speaker today is Asif Sharif. He is a true innovator in the world of no-code technology. He's a mastermind behind Codeless One, a platform dedicated to simplifying complex development processes and pushing the boundaries of innovation. Please welcome Asif Sharif.
All right, excellent. Thank you, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, based on where you're calling in today. I'm going to do a quick introduction to how to use no-code as a technology, and you might have heard about how it's evolved over the last few years. It's really caught on fire. So I'll give you a quick overview of some of the key constructs of why, how, who, and then Mao will show us an example of how a no-code platform, Codeless One, actually can help you in a variety of different ways. So with that, I'm going to turn off my camera so you have more real estate to see the screen, and we'll continue our conversation. Right, folks. So the agenda for today is we'll start by looking at why we need a solution to address the many common problems we face in software development, what those problems are. We'll look at how is it that a no-code platform can be the answer to many of those problems. We'll also talk about what does it mean for a business analyst, a product owner, a project manager in their own career, in addition to what it means for their organization. We'll talk about how rapid prototyping is actually the starting point of a good no-code solution, and how that can lead into a final product, which could either be used as a proof of concept or as a product that can be launched into production. And then we'll do Q&A. Now, talking about the challenges we face, obviously in app development, in software development, there are many challenges people face. So at the highest level, consider how often are projects delivered on time? And how much time does it take? Even if it was delivered on time, any sizable project would take a few months to deliver, if not a few years. And although you might do it iteratively, but it is a long journey. It takes too long, and often it's late. And it's costly. It costs a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of opportunities. And why does that happen? Well, partly it happens because it's hard to build applications that don't have bugs. So we end up with a lot of bugs. We iterate through it, we fix it. How do we test it? Are we going to do unit testing, automation? There's a lot of work involved in building and delivering a software product. Requirements ambiguity is another big challenge. It is my belief that people often don't know what they want. People don't know what they want until you give it to them. And that's why Agile makes sense, because you iterate in maybe 3, 4, 6 week sprints, deliver something so they can give you feedback. This way they know what they're getting, and you can pivot based on that cycle, short cycle, right? But what if you could shorten the cycle dramatically, right? And that's what we will be looking at. Can you validate the requirements in hours instead of weeks, if not months, right? And once you get into building the application, you will find that lack of stakeholder alignment is a major problem, because people could not resonate with 500 user stories or 50 user stories for that matter. Can they read it? Can they understand it? Can they look at all the process maps you've built and understand exactly what you're going to deliver? Once in a while, you might find that is the case, but often you'll find people gloss over it and give you some rudimentary feedback. So if you can engage people proactively, so much the better. And we'll show you how to do that. And what about changing requirements? You see, if I built something and you told me you didn't want that anymore and you wanted something else, well, I have to re-engineer the solution. That's expensive and time-consuming and frustrating for all parties involved. And finally, resources are hard to find. Good developers are a very rare commodity. So how do we find resources that can do the work quickly? Since that's a hard problem, we'll show you a solution where for a lot of the problems, you can build a solution within hours, right? So we'll cover these challenges and how we might overcome it. So let's do our first poll now.
Great, and you can see that we have our first poll on the screen. Please select the correct response for yourself. In your solution development work, what challenges do you often face? And you can choose up to 3 options. And Asif, let's just give everyone about 30 more seconds before I share the results.
So far, difficulty in communicating complex requirements is the top one.
Excellent, and I will just share these results now.
Yeah,
There you go.
certainly number one stands out. Because if you're building anything semi-complex, how do you communicate that to the right stakeholders and get their buy-in is an enormously complex problem. It is a human problem. It is a communication problem. But imagine if they could actually use the product before you built it. What would that mean? And that's really the underpinning of Codeless One. Now, looking at no code, you'll find that if you look at some of the major publications like Gartner, Forrester, and Forbes and others, everybody's pointing out that there has been a move for citizen developers, which is the business analysts and the product owners and the project managers and like are using the no-code platform to solve many of the problems because it simplifies development. It speeds up the development, and Codeless One is very scalable. It is cost effective. It should cost you 10% of what it would have cost you otherwise, and perhaps in many cases, way less than that. Right? And you don't need to be totally dependent on your developers. Of course, there are cases where you want to engage the developers, and you will continue to work with IT because there should be a good partnership between IT and business. But when you can take control of your destiny in your hands, you'll find not only you are better off, but your organizations are better off. So really, the because of the trend of that we have seen and that Gartner talks about in no code space, you having the skills to build functioning prototype, or in fact applications that can be put into production without writing a single line of code, can be highly valuable from a skills development point of view. But in the process, what you end up doing is you end up building cross-team collaboration because you become the solution provider. And that is the sign of a good leader, because now you can take a concept, iterate through it over a few days, and have a product that you can iteratively be demonstrating and people using it, reporting on it, looking at the dashboard, working through the workflows, and be able to work in a deployed environment. And certainly, which in turn leads to, through your leadership, into streamlining your business processes and workflow. Right? And of course, every organization cares about cost and time. In fact, time is far more valuable than cost, in my opinion, because the fact that you don't have a solution leads to an opportunity cost. The opportunity cost is way higher, right? So if you can mitigate both of these, that's a good place to be, right? And that all leads to a strategic direction for your business. And you are the starting point in bringing a solution in an effective way to your organization. And of course, right now it might seem rather fuzzy, but as you look at how Codeless One can be used as a no-code platform to create rich applications. In fact, Mao is going to create an app for you in a few minutes from scratch. And within 2-3 minutes, we will have the starting point of what will turn into an awesome app. So you see, if you look at the traditional development process, and I say traditional, I mean agile now, you go through all your phases. You go through all your phases of SDLC in small sprints. Okay, so you do mini sprints like this, and each sprint might take a few weeks to a couple of months. You'll do multiple of those before your product is ready. On the other hand, you can use Codeless One for many of your projects where it's powered by AI. And what you're doing to begin with is you're creating prototypes, fully functional prototypes that you can actually give people access to. They can start doing all the things they need to, and you get their feedback and you update it. And then you iterate. You iterate through this process. Okay. And in a matter of hours, maybe days, your application is done. Now, a rich application must support a variety of function points. And these function points include having data management capabilities with various data views, Kanban boards, calendars, data import integrations. There's a whole bunch of things Codeless One provides. From a workflow point of view, you want to have task management workflow. So if you're doing an expense management system, somebody needs to create an expense report, submit it, the manager gets it, and then they process it. And if they approve it, then the accounts payable will pay it. That's a workflow. You need business rules, you need role-based access, and you need data access rules. And you need to be able to say that such and such person can only see records that belong to this criteria, and somebody else can see some other record. And what are the rules you can define? So data management and security is central to the design of Codeless One. And then you need data analytics. So any application you create, you need to be able to have dashboards with rich widgets. You need to be able to do various types of reporting, grouping, calculations. You need calculated fields. So if you have an order of many items, the sum of all the item values become the value of the order. You need to be able to define that. Or for the order, you apply taxes to it to define your total price. You need a history. You need discussion. All of that is part of Codeless One. In fact, one of the most interesting part is a super app. And we'll talk about that later on. What is a super app and why is it such an important aspect of our design? Now, the types of applications you can create with Codeless One, and again, you start with a functional prototype, and then you evolve it into a final product, all within a few days. Now, what types of apps should you build with this? If you're building an application that has no user interface, then Codeless One has a nominal use there. So although we do have an RPA component, but when you have application where you need to manage data, where you have business logic, where you have workflows and process that you have to automate, you need user interaction, you need reporting and dashboarding. These are the types of web applications that if you're trying to build, Codeless One is a great choice. Plus, we provide a mobile responsive application, so you can open up the application on your iPhone, on your Android phone, on your tablets. It will purpose the form factor, based on the form factor, repurpose the UI, so it is responsive to various form factors. And so let's do our second poll.
Great, and with that, you can see that I've launched the poll. Which aspects do you aim to validate in your prototypes? Again, you can select up to 3 choices. As if let's just give everyone, about 30 seconds or so to respond. I see the responses coming in, and again, just make sure you can choose up to 3 options and just select directly onto the screen.
Yeah, we have 3 leaders, but looks like the business workflow and rules is leading the pack, with user navigation flow being second.
Great, and with that, I'll share the results.
Yeah, so the third one is number 1. And how does the business flow work? What are the rules? And then you flow that into how does all of that interact with the user, become your top reasons why people are doing this. Excellent, and you'll be able to do all of this with Codeless One. So what does that mean? What that means is, what we want to do is with Codeless One, what you want to do is you want to get clear requirements validation. You want to be absolutely certain what we're going to give to people is what they want, because we can get feedback right away, as opposed to spending 6 months building it or 6 weeks building it and then saying, not really. Now you've already spent $20,000 on it, and it's a painful pivot, right? We would mitigate our risks. Okay, we'll get early stakeholder buy-in. Obviously, it's going to save us a ton of money. We'll better communicate with our stakeholders, so you don't have stakeholders that are not communicating. They are engaged because they're looking at the final product. They're not reading through pages of user stories or specifications. They are simply looking at the application. Iterating based on user feedback is an essential part. When they say fail fast, learn fast, uh, Codeless One is designed for that. And now you'll make informed choices. You can actually build 3 different variations of the application with a nominal extra effort and give it to people and say, which one do you like better? Traditionally, you could never do that, right? And of course, in the process, you will either deploy the Codeless One app into production because it is secure, it is scalable, or if you say, hey, you know what, Codeless app only gave us 90% of what we wanted, we will either extend the Codeless One app or we're going to rebuild it. You have at least validated your requirements. You know exactly what needs to be done. Things can be built very efficiently now. So let's talk about IT and deployment. So typically what happens is this. When you build an app, when somebody builds an app, you need to take it to IT. And so developers build it, they give it to IT, they say, hey guys, we need to deploy this. What does the IT do? IT goes and secures a VM or a service on Azure, AWS, wherever. They will deploy it, they will maintain it, they'll secure it, and they'll maintain it. And so there's a bunch of things that has to be done. Now with Codeless One, this entire process is a click of a button, right? So when you deploy it with Codeless One, in the background, the resources are secured. A unique, a dedicated database is constructed, a SQL database is constructed and deployed, and the whole infrastructure is put together on the fly. And while all of this is being deployed within the Codeless One cloud, we can consider security to be one of the top consideration because, of course, security is so critical nowadays, right? So you want a very secure environment. So we look after all of that. Right? We are a SOC 2 compliant organization, not compliant, we are certified. And before this year ends, we'll also have ISO 9001 certification. So just before we get into the 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 part where Mao will show you the power of Codeless One and how it's going to help you, here is a case study. So we have a client in Toronto, Canada. It's about a 100% company, and what they want, their problem was that their application was highly fragmented. So they have a lead to trial. So they sell a software, they get leads, they do a trial. The whole thing has to be managed. But the problem they had was not only their process was fragmented, they had a high level of drop off. And obviously, when you have drop off on trials, that's not a good thing because that's your business you're in. And so they had lots of missed opportunities for customer engagement. And the solution of this was they used Codeless One to prototype the solution, create a buy-in from their stakeholders from different groups, and fine-tune the solution iteratively. It then integrated it into various tools that were already being used, like Salesforce and other tools. And we had to further automate various collaboration pieces, right? So, the action, the task workflow I talked about is important part of the whole process. And what that really, what they wanted was a quick, rapid adoption to this new platform because the hope was that it would simplify their thing, and they obviously wanted to do it quickly and cost effectively. This entire project took 1 week for one BA to build, and Ma will show you what this looks like. In fact, she'll start by creating a brand new app for you and then show you how the whole thing can be built and what the final product looked like. And basically, they reduce a lot of manual effort. they improve the response time, and they increase the user satisfaction with their trial, right? So of course, this is just an example. What Mao is going to show you is going to be another example of what you can do. So take it as such. It's a sample output. But you know what? I think let's take a look at what this looks like, and then we can come back on the other end and do some Q&A and answer your questions. Over to you, Mao.
Sure. So let me share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Asif, and thank you, Tracy. And hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to have everybody here. Today, I want to share with you how Coders One's AI-powered no-code development can be a valuable tool for business analysts or product owners like you. So we will explore together how it can simplify complex business needs and also streamline your application development journey without taking a lot of the technical detours. All right, so let's get started. Imagine your organization has identified a business challenge and you're eager to build a solution to address it. For a quick start, Coders One offers pre-made applications in various domains. Simply search for what you need in the application library. For example, I need an application to manage my employee training, so I can come here, browse some overviews, look at the screenshots. All right, so once I find the application I need, I can simply choose to click install, and we can wait for a couple of seconds for this application to be installed in your organization. All right, very quickly, now this application is ready to go, and you can start to explore the many functionalities of it or start to customize it. Well, pre-made applications provide a very quick and convenient starting point. I would say the real power of no-code lies in building applications from scratch. Building application from scratch typically involves a drag-and-drop approach that requires some software design experience. However, we've taken it further by focusing on AI and automation. To create a custom application in Coders One, you can simply provide the system the name of the application you want to create. And optionally, you can provide some description here to let the system know what you're trying to achieve. So here I provided, say, for example, we want to create a project management application. And this is just one example. And now if I click next, our AI will come into play. Now you could see the AI recommends relevant objects for your project management application. It recommends objects like project, task, milestone, team, expense, and so on. And also under each object, the AI also recommend details, or we call properties, what you can consider to include in each of the objects. For example, for task, it has task name, description, priority, status, and so on. Here you can make some quick selection, and also we support many attribute types you can choose from. And if you want to do further configuration directly from here, like changing the drop-down values, add more values, change the order, feel free to do that. So here I'm going to simply make some selection. So I'm going to exclude a few items I don't need at this point in time. And now the rest seems fine. And now if I click next, our AI does not stop here. It will also recommend you the relations you can consider to include for your objects. So for example, you have, say, one task can normally be associated with multiple milestones. So I think everybody here understands this cardinality very well. So here we actually support one-to-many, one-to-one, many-to-many cardinality directly from here. And here I'm simply going to make the default selection recommended by the AI. And here, as you could see, those objects, properties, and relations, they basically form the application's data model. I call it, or you can call them the foundation of your application. And now, after I finalize my selection and I click the next. So as you could see, now our system is getting very busy in terms of generating the dedicated database for you, analyzing the patterns of the application model you just finalized, and also created your dedicated database, generating all the display pages, and also directly deploy this application to the cloud. So this entire process, we call it the AI-powered one-click smart generation. Now, as you could see, after a couple of seconds, your application is brought to life. We have fast-forwarded from what might traditionally take months to years to just a couple of minutes. And after that, you can start to explore this application or customize it. So customizing application in CodeSwan is very, very straightforward. So here I'm going to use another application created using the same process, but I just have a lot of data, so it's easier for me to show. To customize or to further configure your application, simply turn on this inline edit mode. Then you can make granular changes in both the presentation as well as the functionality of your application. Here, a very simple example. For example, I want this navigation bar to be on the left instead of on the top. And also I can choose what menu items I'm going to show and the order of those items. So once I finalize my edits, I can quickly click on the update menu. And you will see this change is reflected in your application. And of course, this is just a simple example of what customization you can do to your application. I would say there are actually hundreds of things you can do. CodeSwan really empowers you to effortlessly customize your application in many, many possibilities. You have the flexibility and the power to modify how your application looks, and you can design your workflows, you can set up the business rules and logics, and many, many more to tailor your application to your precise requirements. And the nice part is all those changes can be done in a very business user-friendly way. And also one thing I want to mention that this application is also automatically mobile devices responsive without you hire developers to do those extra CSS work. And now, after some quick customization, you can showcase this application to your stakeholder and gather feedback from them and identify potential issues in your requirements and also further refine it in a few iterations. Once your application is ready, you can effortlessly launch it. Depending on the complexity of your application, this entire process may take a couple of hours to a few days at most. And here's another fantastic aspect, as I've mentioned. So if you come across challenges or gaps that seem to go beyond the boundaries of no code, your CodeSwan app can now become your fully functional and also interactive prototype. You can use it as a dynamic blueprint for your development team to make sure they understand the requirements well, and you get all the feedback from your stakeholders to actually ensure a seamless transition into the application development process. So CodeSwan apps houses a lot of robust features. Now let's spend a couple of minutes to take a closer look at those capabilities so that you can have a better idea how you can use CodeSwan to solve your business challenges. It really doesn't matter you envision it as a rapid prototype or as a ready-to-launch solutions. That power is really in your hands. So in this particular example, I build this application tailored for managing the sales and pre-sales process. So this is basically a CRM application. But here I really want to emphasize is that this is just one of the many applications you can build using CodisOne. Here, basically, a wide range of solutions can be built for managing your business processes and workflows. You can consider, use it to manage your assets, employee tracking, project management, task optimization. Really, CodisOne provides you is the power to craft solutions that match your unique needs. Right now, I'm going inside of this application to show you more capabilities. So inside of an application, so first, there are many ways to visualize your data. For example, here I'm showing the records in a normal table view. I can also show the records in a split view, where you can see the overview of each record on the left, and also some details to the right. So you don't have to switch back and forth to check the details of each record. In addition to that, you can also show each record in a card. They're nicely organized. Also Kanban board. So Kanban board, you can group those records by different status, and also we have the swim lane. I can easily drag and drop. Okay. To change the order, to change the status of those orders. And in addition to that, you can, if you have time-sensitive data like this events data, you can also show them in a calendar view. For example, I can see which events I have this week. And now if I drill down to an individual record, we can see more details here. For example, you can see the summary of this record and see the different status. And also I can directly change the status from here. And here you see multiple tabs. So under the details tab, you have the details of this record nicely organized into different groups. And here you also see tabs like orders, opportunity, lead, event, and so on. And again, this is just one example. So here you can see those are the cross-reference data. So those are the associated records, which is linked to this record. So as opportunities and so on. So here is basically the relations you defined in your data model, which I just showed a couple of minutes ago in the AI recommendation. One thing we heard a lot about people is that checking the cross-reference data in spreadsheet is a painful process. But here you could see things are made much simpler. And in addition to that, you can also directly upload attachment. And under the history tab, you can also see what happened to this record, who did what changes at what point in time. And also you can have team discussions. So you can have a particular, add a particular team member to add a comment here, and that team member will get the notification right away. And here I really want to mention is that one big difference between CodisOne's app and also a lot of apps you could see from somewhere else is that almost everything here you see is dynamic. Not only what data you try to manage in this application and how you want to visualize those data are dynamic. Also, this entire page is actually built on a component-based structure. So theoretically speaking, there are limitless possibilities for how any given page can look and function in your application. And just expand a little bit on that, we can talk about user navigation. This is, I think, one aspect many of you will find compelling. Here, the actions here are fully customizable. You have the power to create buttons that navigate users to any page within or outside of your application. So this flexibility is really a valuable resource for testing and perfecting your user flow in your designing and requirement process. And also don't worry if you have data somewhere else, you can easily bring data into our system using many methods. And one of them is very easy to use data import. You can simply upload your spreadsheet and directly bring your data to CodeIs1 app. Now, your team can also gain insights through comprehensive dashboards, and our dashboard is really, really easy to use. We support many different types of widgets, and you can drag and drop. And you can also ping a list and also one or multiple calendars directly to your dashboard. And there's really no limit of how many dashboards you can create. And similarly, you can also build reports for your reporting purposes. And the report is also very easy to use. You can choose what information you want to show and apply some filters, aggregation calculation to run those reports. All right, I think so far we have covered, I would say, the common foundation of a modern application, including basic data management, user navigation, and analytics functionalities. So I hope you've enjoyed it so far. And next, I am also going to talk about a common challenge from many organizations, is how to deal with multiple platforms and systems. So this is a complaint we constantly hear, that people are saying, oh, we use too many systems here and there. So the potential problem of that is you might have data silos and high integration costs, and also the collaboration compromise. So as a business analyst, the very critical question to ask is, how can you streamline the collaboration within your organization in the most efficient way possible? One solution lies in robust workflow management. So here we will focus on the workflow-centric collaboration capabilities. With CodeIs1, first, you can build a solid foundation for centralized collaboration among your different user groups. So consider this super app, which has four application portal in a single application. So it serves various teams within your organization and also your external stakeholders like your vendors or your partners. Just a simple example, your sales team work in the sales portal. And now we can see a simple workflow here. So now as a salesperson, right, I am going to submit a trial request. So I will say trial 001, 002, okay? And I'm going to change the status. You can also configure the state transition rules here. So I'm going to make it requested. So I'm going to submit this request in the sales portal. And now, if I go to the trial management portal as somebody who is responsible for managing that trial, and you could see this request gets popped up in my Kanban board right away. So there's entire process. There's no need to send back and forth emails manually. And also once that trial is triggered, the system can also automatically send an email notification to whomever is responsible for this trial request. So basically here you can automate a lot of your team communications in a very efficient way. And of course, I think what we've seen here is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the power of workflow management with CodeIs1. The summary here is the simplicity of our platform makes it really handy for a business analysts like you guys. Even if you don't have any programming experience, you can efficiently design, visualize, and also validate the intricate workflows in your organization. And you no longer need to wait for long development cycles and rely too much on the technical teams to bring your ideas to life. And another aspect I want to mention is that when you have multiple users or multiple groups of users in one platform, how you can make sure that each user can access only the data they're supposed to see. So here brings up the role-based user access rights. Basically, this role-based user access rights ensure that each user can only interact with this application which is relevant to their role. So here, as you could see, I have defined some roles here. And so you say you can configure who has the right to edit your application, change the general setting, or import data to your application, and so on. And now, in addition to that, you can also make granular settings about what data your users can see. For example, for my support team, I have some account information and feels relatively sensitive, like the customer's life value. In addition to give them full access to this piece of information, I can either make it read only or no access. And if you want to change somebody's permission, you can directly come here and change it, directly update your application. And really, unlike the traditional app development, if you want to make a similar change, that might require weeks of waiting and testing. And however, in our platform, you can do this in an immediate and also bug-free way in just a few clicks. And moreover, you can integrate CODIS One with many other systems in many different ways. So currently we support over 50 connectors, commonly used connectors. But if you have custom system you want to integrate with, that can be achieved as well. And as we wrap up our exploration of CODIS One's capabilities, I want to leave you with this remarkable takeaway. With our platform, you have the power to transform your application from ground zero to up to 80% completion in a matter of minutes. That provides you with an efficient method for validating your idea. After that, you can seamlessly fine-tune your application to perfection. This stage offers you, the opportunity to quickly refine and iterate your application. You now have a functional and interactive application to validate your design and requirements before making the critical decision to either launch it or proceed with further development. All right, I will say, yeah, that is the end of my demo. Thank you for joining me today. And I highly encourage everybody to explore the endless possibilities that CODIS One brings to your role. And before I hand it over back to Asif, I want to invite everybody to participate in our final poll to help us understand your need and your valuable feedback. And now over to you, Tracy, for the last poll. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mao. And everyone, you can just vote quickly the poll that I have put on the screen, and we'll just give everyone, about 30 more seconds. Great, and for this poll, which CODIS One features are you most excited about? And of course, you can select up to 3. Excellent, thank you. We will close this poll, and I'm going to launch one more poll.
So by the way, just before we do that, the result, the leading one was rich visualization of data with beautiful UI was the winning one there. One-click generation of the application was number 2, and AI generation was number 3. Those were relatively close, but those were the top 3 ones.
Thank you, Asif. Next, we'll launch into our final poll of the day. After witnessing the demo of CODIS One, which do you feel is a better fit for your organization's use cases? And please select all that apply.
Yeah, in this one, the winning one looks like is people want to use it for prototyping, but also for app dev. So they want to use Codeless One's deployment, one-click deployment option, and the second option was prototyping only, and then the third one was I need more info. Surely, we will provide you more information as you need it, and when we of course, you can go down to our website, you can register, start using it, but I think we also have an offer for you where we can provide, do you have that slide? Yeah, so we have an offer for you guys. If you want to build a prototype or an application, we'll provide you 2 hours of free consulting. We'll engage with you to craft your application. You'll see the magic of Codeless One. And worst case scenario, you'll be educated. Best case scenario, you'll have an app that you can put into production if you like.
Thank you, Asif. And just a note, we're going to go into our question periods quickly. If you have any more questions, please type them into the questions box, and I will pass it off to Shehan Fernando for the question period. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I do want to encourage you, if you have any other questions, please put it in the question box. It looks like it's been pretty active with some questions being answered via text. I do see several other questions here. Asif and Mao, I'll just jump right into it and start getting on them. So one of the questions we got were, do you support business process automation with BPMN or like notations? Do you support business process automation with BPMN or like notation?
Yes, we do. Yeah. We do have a whole business process modeling tool. Mao, do you want to share your screen? And if you have it ready, if you have something you can show us, that'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so you can define complex business rule and processes using our process designer.
Okay. Next question I see here is, how does data access control work? Again, that's how does data access control work?
Yeah, so we have various types of data access control. One of the data access control we have is based on role. So you can define which stakeholders which roles can see what type of data. So whether they have access to certain record types, fields, do they have read-only access? You can even define transition rules as to who can transition an order from A to B and B to C. But you can also define data access rules for that. If you're a salesperson in Canada, you can see Canadian records. If you're in the US, you can see US records. If you're in some other place, you can see that area, and the manager can see everything. So you can define data access rules at multiple levels.
Perfect, thank you. This next one's an interesting one. It's, how long does it take to learn to create an application using Codeless One?
I think the answer to that is, for a lot of the stuff that Codeless One does, as you saw, Mao built the first app in front of you. It took but a few minutes. And then when you get into it, you can start fine tuning it. And one of the brilliance of Codeless One is that you can do a lot of editing in app. So you don't go to somewhere else into a developer tool and then publish it. You can actually do the updates directly within Codeless One. There are advanced capabilities like the business process modeling area, which obviously requires a little bit more of time to become an expert in that. But getting to, I'd say 0 to 60 is a matter of hours for you to become comfortable with the tool. But of course, when you want to become really competent, it might take you a couple, 3 weeks to become an expert in Codeless One.
Okay, staying with that theme, Asif, the next question was, Do you support it? Do you support calculated fields? If so, how do you define calculated fields?
Yeah. So calculated fields is a function of, so for example, when you have, yes, Mao, if you can take us there. And Mao, do you want to talk about it perhaps?
Right, yeah. So you can actually define the calculation at the property level. So I think here I have a simple calculation. So this account can have many orders. So in order to calculate the client lifetime value, and you can just simply say, it's a sum of all, the child orders directly from here. Right. So I think from a formula perspective, we actually support many operators. So yeah, your calculations can be easily defined directly here.
Perfect. Thank you. Hope that answers the question. Next up, what kind of services and support do you provide?
We do provide a variety of different services and support. Firstly, our support is we provide two types of support. One is 24/7 online support portal we have. There is also, depending on the type of license you have, you can also get premium support where you get a dedicated success manager assigned to you. In terms of our services we offer collaborative development services, which typically is for 4 to 6 hours of consulting, building out applications through multiple iterations. But as I said earlier, for right now, we are also offering 2 hours of free consulting to build your apps with you collaboratively to get things started. But yeah, so and of course there's training services provided as well.
And Asif, you want to show the QR code?
Yeah. Stacy, can you go back to the deck and show? Yeah, so this is where you just go to codeless1.com/go and we'll get you going.
This next question, a couple more here. How do I integrate other systems in my company with Codeless One app?
So we provide multiple approaches to doing that. So one is there is native codeless integrations services available, which is part of our business process modeling tool, so that you can connect to Salesforce or a bunch of other tools. You can also connect with using Zapier. We have a Zapier integration, and we also have custom REST API that we have exposed. So there are multiple ways of integrating to other systems.
Great. Actually, I think this next question is somewhat related, but it's what is the scope of Codeless One for ERP?
So as you saw, Codeless One by itself is a platform. Using the platform, you can create a variety of different applications. One of the applications you can build is a super app for an ERP. And of course, ERP would have many portals for different areas so that different people can experience it in the way they want to use it. So surely you can use our AI tool to start that process and then fine tune it to get the ERP to do exactly what your organization needs.
Thank you, Asim. I do want to call out that we are at the top of the hour. We do have a few more questions to answer. We will continue. Having said that, just as a quick reminder, this recording and the slides will be available on Modern Analyst, according to Tracy. So that will be there. But just to continue on with a couple more questions, you're welcome to stay. Next question I have here is, can you talk a little bit more about dashboarding and reporting?
Yeah, Mao, do you want to share your screen and maybe give us some more insight onto the widgets that the dashboard supports? And whether you can have one or more dashboards and maybe how reporting can be used. So there surely is a rich collection of widgets that can be used to create the dashboard of lists, tiles, graph charts, gauges, and so on. And you can create multiple dashboards. So you could have a region-wise dashboard, and you can have a corporate dashboard, or however you want to organize it. It's pretty easy to use as well.
Right. And also, Asif mentioned, for example, the people in different regions can only see records falling to their own region. So the dashboard is also changing because of that. So say I have a sales team in Canada and I have another sales team in the US. So even they see the same dashboard, but actually the data they see is different because they only have access to data in their own region.
Thank you, guys. That was a great response. And I think this will be the last question we have, unless anyone wants to drop a question into the chat box. Can we use the application built in production?
Yes, you can. The approach we are suggesting is initially it's a proof of concept. You're iterating through a proof of concept. And as you iterate through it, so you'll spend an hour, you create the app, you will show it to your people, they'll use it, they'll give you feedback, and you'll iterate through it, perhaps through a few 2-3 hour sprints. At the end of it, you'll end up with an app. And if you like the app, of course, you can see these apps are beautifully designed. They just come out gorgeous. And you can say, you know what? It does everything I want. The logic is right. Everything is working great. Let's deploy it for production and start using it.
You know, for fun, I got to ask this last question because this is a good one. The question is, do you support mobile?
We do. We Codeless One applications are responsive, and so they'll work. It'll repurpose the UI for mobile interface or tablet interface or any other resolution you're working on, so that you see the right amount of information in the right way.
Right, and also your application is automatically mobile devices responsive, but if you do want some customized configuration to the mobile version, you can do that as well.
Perfect. And thank you. That actually concludes our QA portion of today's webinar. I'd like to turn back to Asif for some final words.
So folks, it was about 20 years ago, I first built an application called IDEA. And that idea was really based on the same construct as Codeless One, but comparatively, that was rudimentary. Codeless One is miles ahead of where IDEA was. And IDEA was a truly prototyping tool. And people would say, why can't we deploy it? So when we took a stab at this again, many years later, and a few years ago, one of the key decisions we made is as people are using this as a fully functional prototypes, we should make sure that this can scale in a production environment. And that's what we went about building. So I hope you guys will reach out, ask us questions. Of course, there's the website, there's the URL. Thank you again for joining this call, and I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll speak soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Asif and Mao and Xian, for such a great presentation today. We'd also like to thank everyone for attending today's Modern Analyst webinar. I'd like to remind everyone that today's webinar, along with the slides, will be archived at the ModernAnalyst.com website within a few business days. This concludes today's event, and we hope everyone has a great day.